Hey guys, so I don't really have like any super cool video today. I don't have any comparisons or anything. I just want to start a little short conversation. Now, we all know that what happened last week down in Texas, and we all know that it was a tragedy, and there are clamorings and claims and beggings for action, for things to happen, and as always happens with this kind of stuff, what we hear is gun control. Getting rid of guns, limiting who has guns, etc. And I wanted to start a conversation because we can no longer, as gun owners, just sit by the wayside and continue to say no to that without giving viable alternatives. Because let's admit it, there is something going on. Now, we all know that it's not gun ownership. We all know that although gun ownership has expanded, it is more difficult now to get a gun than it was 50 years ago. And yet we still see this kind of thing more often, or at least more televised than we did back then. But so we've got to start producing our own solutions. We've got to start suggesting something, because just sitting there and defending against the attacks isn't going to do anything. It hasn't done anything. The attacks continue, and I don't mean the attacks on the schools. I mean the attacks on the Second Amendment. So what, as gun owners, can we suggest to do? Personally, here's my thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. I see this as a twofold issue. The majority of the issue is mental health. The mental health situation in the United States is not good. Hasn't been good for many years. It has decreased drastically in the past couple of years, especially since the pandemic, people being ostracized, people being quarantined and set aside. One of the worst things that people can be is alone. And what that did was that put a lot of people who needed help alone. So we really need to focus on mental health in this country. We need to focus on helping people to, on one side, not see the stigma behind it, to get the help that you need, but on the other side, offer that, but don't make it to the point where they don't want to do it. For instance, red flag laws and mental health checks on firearms forms, the 4473 forms, that every single person who buys a firearm from a brick and mortar store has to sign. This is this 4473, which includes background checks. So including mental health on that, or starting up red flag laws, the only thing that that's going to do in the long run is it's going to make people who have mental health issues less likely to get help for those mental health issues, because as soon as they go out and they get help and they reach out, they then have rights taken away from them. So doing that is not going to be a beneficial thing. We do need to make access to the care for these things easier, more affordable. It is incredibly difficult right now to find things like therapists and counselors. And I personally don't know if it's that so many people need them, or if it's just that there is such a lack of them, because it is not a glorious career path. But that is one of the things that we desperately need to do. And this mental health issue is driven by a lot of things. Bullying, the attack of the nuclear family, and the lack of fathers in homes is a major issue. The lack of that good role model form for young men especially is really hurting our young men and our youth. And that has been going on long enough now that these people who that has been hurting are now adults doing the same things, or worse, to their own children. So mental health issues are a huge problem, and it is something that we actually need to focus on and tackle and take care of. Now, the other side, and this is one of the things that these go together, because they form a longer functionality in the solution, because so many of the solutions that we hear, for instance, the gun control argument, there are about 400 million guns in the United States right now. Of that, approximately 1% are the guns that they are attacking right now. But that 1% is actually a major, it's a major deterrent. It's a major feature of what the Second Amendment was all about, because as you and I know, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's not about personal defense. It's not about sportsmanship. It is about civil defense and essentially keeping your government in check. Perfect examples of this are how Australia and Canada, who both have relatively restrictive gun laws, treated their citizens during the pandemic. Ask any Canadian or any Australian if they enjoyed the pandemic, if the things that the government did, if they liked them, if that was their preference, or if that's just what the government did and they had no recourse. I'm going to tell you, it's option 2. They didn't have a recourse. The government just did what it did. And it's getting worse. Now, Canada just did another more stringent weapons ban. And so when we're looking at this, gun control is not a viable solution. It's not something that's going to work, because the only people who are going to give up their guns or give back their guns are the people who follow the rules already. And an interesting thing, a key factor in people who murder is that they don't follow rules. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if y'all had made the connection between that yet or not, but interesting statistical fact there. So we need to focus on other things. It's not trying to get the guns off of it ain't going to do a damn thing. So what we can do, however, is look at the locations that, especially lately, are being televised as these horrible locations, and it's soft points. It's the points that aren't defendable, defensive. We intentionally take away the ability to defend in our schools. We hand our kids over, and before you guys get into the, well, homeschool your children, that is not a viable solution for everyone. Nor is it that's not a solution. Homeschool your kids is a solution personally, but that is not a solution society-wise. And therefore, that's not going to be a solution that is able to be accepted on like the higher level. That's not going to fly for, I'll admit, the liberals. The liberals aren't going to go for that. That's not their solution. So we need to come up with something else. So we need to actually like protect our kids. I don't know why that's not happened yet. 9/11 happens, we protect the airports and we arm the airports. The January 6th incident happens, and all of a sudden we're dumping millions and millions of dollars into fortifying essentially the Capitol. And yet this stuff happens with our kids and we don't do anything. So why don't we take a look at the, 400,000 retired military service members? How many retired police officers do we have? How many parents who are willing and proficient with firearms would be willing to take the courses and classes to be registered and to be able to actually go in and defend the schools? In addition to that, simple things like locking doors. You would think that would be a relatively simple solution, but apparently locking doors was not on the list of things that they decided to do in Texas, unfortunately. And the shooter strolled in, past a resource officer who assumed that he was just supposed to be there. And so there are a lot of different issues and breakdowns that happened there. More stringent security, locking the doors, making sure that you understand who is coming in before you lock the doors, maybe having the resource officer in between the typical double doors that you have in schools to be able to verify and validate before somebody walks in. Just do something. Not everybody in a school has to be armed. Not even every teacher has to be armed. But merely the threat of a teacher possibly being armed could be enough to deter. Because 9 times out of 10, the people who do this kind of things are cowards. They are. You do not go into a school to do what these people do and be a strong or brave man. That's not what strong people do. These people are cowards, and again, 9 times, it won't stop everyone. There's nothing that we can do that will stop everyone. But the threat of possible encounters and friction with somebody might be enough to stop a large majority of them. So why not give them the opportunity for minimal input of money? You can have these people who are willing to protect and willing to take care of the kids. Because obviously, the police aren't going to come help us. If there's one thing that this has pointed out more than anything, it is that the police are not going to come save you. They are there to clean up in the end and to find the guilty person and to make them pay. But they are not there to make that guilty person stop. That's up to us. And because that's up to us, we have to take that action and we have to press that and tell people to no longer make us be indefensible in the places where we have the things that need the most defense. So thanks, guys, for watching this. If you have any ideas onto what we can do, what we can suggest, what we can throw out there to be able to maybe alter the direction of our conversations, because you know that it's coming to gun control. If there's anything that you can suggest, do me a favor and write that in the comments down below. Thanks, guys. I appreciate every one of you. And until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.